What's up, everybody? It is Alien Spartan 117, and it has been a very long time since I've been able to be active on this channel. For that, I am sincerely sorry. Life just kind of got in the way, a lot of things been going on, and there really hasn't been a whole lot of Halo news coming on, but now we got Halo Infinite on the way. We were hoping to have the game in our hands right now, but sadly we don't due to the delay. So I've decided to go ahead and create this series called The Legacy of Halo. So what this is going to be is basically a look back at each of the games that have touched us from this franchise and just kind of evaluate what they were, what they meant to the community at that point in time, and just all sorts of things. Now, I know there are plenty of videos out there that basically go deep into every detail of the development of the games, the reception, the sales, all that stuff. That's not what I'm making an effort to do. What I am going to be doing is taking a look at the games and their content, what they were, and basically how the community viewed them at that point in time, the outrage, the love, the hate, just everything. Basically, what we're going to be doing is taking a journey back in time with each of these videos, and we're going to be looking at how it was to be a Halo fan, dealing with each of these releases and the legacy that's left, and to this day, what Halo fans think of each of these games. I am going to do my very best to keep my own biases and my own opinions out of these videos. I'm basically going to be taking a look at how the community felt at those points in time when they were dealing with the releases and whenever these games were going through their best and worst of times. And trust me, every Halo game has had their best and worst of times. I mean, nothing's perfect. In this series, we will be taking a look at each of the games in the original trilogy. We will also be taking a look at Halo ODST and Halo Reach. We'll be taking a look at each anniversary release, such as Halo 1 and Halo 2's anniversaries, and of course the MCC. We'll be taking a look at Halo 4 and Halo 5, and of course the Halo Wars as well. And it's going to end off with Halo Infinite, in which that I'll probably just do as much as I can, obviously without a game being released. Each of these games will have their own video in this Legacy series, of course starting with this one for Halo Combat Evolved. And they will be broken down into 5 basic categories. The first one being the hype and the development prior to the game. The second one being the game's campaign. The third being the game's multiplayer. The fourth being how it was to be a fan during that game's initial release and the years following. And that is where I will put my own opinions into the mix. And the fifth and final is the game's legacy, the legacy that is left in the Halo community and gaming in general. So, sit back and I hope you enjoy this trip down memory lane. Get ready for lots of nostalgia, and I'm looking very forward to seeing your comments below on your memories with each of these games and your opinions on this series. Thank you, and let's go back to Combat Evolved. Most Halo fans know the story of Halo Combat Evolved's development. It is probably the most covered development cycle of any Halo game. Halo Combat Evolved was originally being developed for the Mac, and was actually originally unveiled by Steve Jobs, but due to Bungie's financial woes, they were bought out by Microsoft, and Halo would become one of the flagship launch titles for their new console, the original Xbox. Bungie never expected Halo to become the success that it is today, but primarily in part because first-person shooters did not go on consoles back in those days. Halo itself originally began production as a strategy game, making its way finally over to being a third-person shooter, and finally over to the first-person shooter we know and love. A few first-person games had found success on consoles back in those days, so things such as 007 GoldenEye and Doom are some to name, but they never really looked at consoles and shooters as going together back then, which is hard to imagine now considering most of your major AAA titles are first-person shooters that are on consoles. But back then it was unheard of. Well, Halo Combat Evolved would come along and change that. And as far as its development is concerned, that is probably one of its biggest legacies on gaming as a whole. The game would launch alongside the original Xbox on November 15th, 2001, and the world would never be the same. As far as the community is concerned, there wasn't really any community to go by then. Sure, there were people who were anticipating the game, But Xbox was not an established brand. They were trying to basically edge in on Sony's market, and Halo was just one of the best looking games that they had on this console. But boy, whenever people finally started playing Halo, it was the reason to buy an Xbox. For Halo Combat Evolved's community segment, it isn't so much about the anticipation for the game. Sure, you had Halo Fall of Reach, a novel that was due to come out and establish the lore for the game, but it actually got pushed off until after the game's release and didn't come out until 2002. So, Halo Combat Evolved has a special place for being the game that the segment will focus more on how it built a community, not how a community was anticipating its release. And how did it build that community? It built that community through an amazing campaign and a gripping story, innovative features, and a multiplayer like no other that would bring people together. Halo Combat Evolved built its community from the ground up, and nothing like it has happened since. And the first part that built that community was the campaign. Every Halo fan remembers the first time they stepped out of the ship to look around and survey the environment surrounding them. Stepping onto the Halo ring for the first time, we are all alone as our fellow Marines have just perished. Every Halo fan can also tell you the first time that they stormed the Cartographer or that the Flood was unveiled. Halo Combat Evolved was packed full of moments that absolutely defined a grand story and built a community. It gripped the player and did not let them go, all driven home by the powerful score of Marty O'Donnell, who made sure that the music fit the atmosphere of the game perfectly. Halo Combat Evolved came together to become a perfect symbiosis of environment, music, and gameplay, and it had an amazing story to boot. Complementing the gameplay was a story that, though small at the time, would grow into a massive cultural phenomenon spanning books and movies. But then they didn't know that. Then you were just a green man crashing running from aliens. But how did the story go? Well, it goes a little something like this. The year is 2552. Humanity has been colonizing the stars, and in doing so encounters a hostile alien empire known as the Covenant. The Covenant views humanity as an affront to their gods and vows that humanity must be wiped from existence. So begins the Human Covenant War. For nearly 30 years the war has raged on by the time that Halo Combat Evolved takes place. In those days there were two worlds that could not fall, Reach and Earth. Hundreds of humanity's worlds have been burned to a crisp, our families killed, our structures, our monuments reduced to glass. The Covenant are ruthless in their assault against humanity, and they have just struck their final major blow before Earth. The Covenant have glassed Reach. The planet Reach, humanity's fortress in the stars, has fallen. Fleeing from Reach, the Pillar of Autumn enters random slipspace to prevent the Covenant from capturing their navigational data and perhaps finding the location of Earth. Captain Keyes takes with him his crew, an AI known as Cortana, and a genetically engineered super soldier known as John 117 from the highly classified Spartan 2 program. After slipspace on September 19th, 2552, they find Halo. But right behind them are a Covenant armada ready to take the ring for themselves as they view it as a creation from their gods and their gateway to paradise. The game goes on pretty much while you're trying to figure out the secrets of the Halo ring. If you've played the game, you know how it goes. Halfway through the game, though, you find out that the mysterious Flood have been buried on the ring and they have escaped, set loose by the Covenant. This entire game has a major plot twist that I've never seen any other video game recreate. You think you know what's going on. You're trying to survive, you're fighting against the Covenant, you're locating your crew, you're trying to find the secrets of this ancient structure. And out of nowhere comes an extremely deadly threat that just starts tearing apart the enemy that you have been just barely able to stave off for the first half of the game. Later on comes 343 Guilty Spark, the monitor of the installation. Guilty Spark claims that if you fire the Halo ring, you can stop the flood. So, Master Chief decides to go along with the charade, travels to the library and retrieves the key to fire the Halo ring. Once the one ring fires, the other 6 in the array will join, and their pulses combined will wipe out all life in the galaxy. But John 117 doesn't know that, so he travels to the control room and prepares to fire the ring. Luckily for all life in the galaxy, earlier in the game you left Cortana chilling in the control room, and she has discovered the secrets of this ring. Guilty Spark was not lying when he said that it would stop the flood if you were to fire it, but he did not happen to include the little detail that if you fire the ring, you will wipe out all life in the galaxy. Obviously, Chief, now having a change of heart, decides he must stop Spark, but the Flood are loose on the ring, and the Covenant are everywhere. Halo Combat Evolved's final missions descends into an anarchy of Flood, Covenant, and the few remaining humans, all scrambling together. The Covenant are trying to uncover the secrets of the ring. Guilty Spark wants to fire the rings. The Flood, if it gets off that ring, could once again consume all life in the galaxy. It is absolute chaos. But Cortana has a plan. Detonate the reactor of the Pillar of Autumn, and the slip space detonation will destroy the ring. So you retrieve from Captain Keyes, who has been captured by the Covenant, and now turned into a Flood proto-Gravemind, his neural lace. And using the neural lace, you return to the crashed remains of the Pillar of Autumn and detonate its slip space drive. And as a result, the ring is destroyed. The Flood is stopped, and the Covenant Armada is destroyed. Guilty Spark flies away and has survived to fight another day, and the Chief must reunite with humanity's forces to continue the war against the Covenant. Halo Combat Evolved's beautiful campaign, atmosphere, and story, though maybe not as deep as the sequels that would follow it, set the groundwork for a community, and set a beautiful story that people love till this day. Halo Combat Evolved is truly one of the greatest campaigns of all time, and has set the stage for potentially, in my opinion, the best story that gaming has ever known. And it all started in 2001 with Halo Combat Evolved. But there was another part that would build the community and people would fall in love with, and that would be Halo Combat Evolved's multiplayer. Halo Combat Evolved was a game born too early to be on Xbox Live, but that did not stop it from having a widely popular and successful multiplayer. People would begin to use Halo Combat Evolved in their new Xboxes to make LAN parties. They would connect 4 Xboxes together, along with 4 TVs, running 4 players on each TV, and running 16-man LAN parties. The colleges would be full of LAN parties. Every kid wanted an Xbox and Halo for Christmas. Halo became a cultural phenomenon, and the multiplayer was part of that longevity. The multiplayer is very archaic by today's standards, but then it was like the first competitive shooter that you would ever be able to really play in a multiplayer setting like that. For the first time, you were playing capture the flag with your friends, pulling off shots, and of course in Halo Combat Evolved, every weapon was overpowered. That was the solution for balancing the weapons in Halo Combat Evolved, was make every one of them OP. The rockets will blow you away, you barely get touched by a vehicle and you're dead. The nades will explode half the world away, it feels like. And don't even get me started on the 3-shot pistol. 2 shots to the body, 1 to the head, bam, you're dead. Halo Combat Evolved's multiplayer was a blast for all who got to enjoy it back in the day. And it got even better when Halo Combat Evolved PC came along. And for them, finally, people lucky enough to have a PC and the game could connect and play together. It would be years before Combat Evolved would finally be playable on Xbox. Not until 2014, when the Master Chief Collection would be released, would Halo Combat Evolved multiplayer finally be available on Xbox Live. The multiplayer set the stage for some of the best competitive play to ever come in gaming. In the years directly after Halo Combat Evolved's release, the gripping story, the addictive multiplayer, the mystery of the game itself, and the beautiful music all transpired together to create a wonderful community that formed around the game. The telling nature of this community lasts to this day. The community would literally reach into the game, find all the pieces, and share them with each other. Spend hours trying to get into hidden rooms and trying to just accomplish anything they could to break the game or just have a good time. And there was always fun and laughs to be had. LAN parties would fill college dorm rooms, Halo PC was alive and well, and Bungie was hard at work on Halo Combat Evolved sequel, Halo 2. And there were also being books released, and the universe was beginning to grow. Halo The Flood was released, which is a novelized version of the game. Halo First Strike, which takes place directly after the events of the game. And of course The Fall of Reach, which was originally delayed, worked as Halo Combat Evolved's prequel. And story buffs began to love the universe that was being crafted, and they had no idea what that universe would one day become. Though this was a great time to be a Halo fan. There was no comparison of how Halo should be or what it was or is. It was just Halo, and we were a strong and young and vibrant community. The years following Halo Combat Evolved's release would probably be the most innocent and naive time in the Halo community's long history. And it was probably, I dare say, one of the happiest times to be a Halo fan, because there was so much laughter, so much fun to be had, and so little hate. Halo Combat Evolved came out on November 15th, 2001, and completely redefined gaming as we know it. But that's what we all talk about. What about us as a community? We all know what it was like. It's 2003, and you're 9 years old. Whenever your brother's away, you sneak and play as much Halo Combat Evolved as you can. You would love to get to just once play in one of the LAN parties with him. Get to be able to enjoy going out, laughing, going with friends, and show how you can pull the flag, or you can look just like the characters from Red vs. Blue. Life is good. It's 2003, and you got to make sure that you're hiding from your mother because it is an M-rated game, and like I said, it's 2003. But one day, you'll get to play that brand new Halo 2 coming out, and maybe you'll even get your own Xbox, and you cannot wait to grow up and play all the Halo that you want to. And you have no idea how fast time is about to grant that wish, and the moment that you're enjoying then will never come again. Before you know it,
that was 10 years ago. This is now. The campaign of the decade.
It's June 2011. Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary and Halo 4 were just announced. You are hysterical. You cannot wait to play as the Chief again and continue the adventure, and a whole new saga has been announced, 4, 5, and 6. But before you touch any of those, you get to go back and relive where it all began. You think about how you used to want to play your brother's Xbox. He hasn't played Halo in years now, and he's married, got 2 kids of his own. But you're 17 now, fixing to go to college. You've been a clan leader, you've been in Machiminas, you've definitely tried to go MLG more than one time. Reach and Halo 3, Halo 2, they've all been very good to you, and you've made many friends along the way. And though you can't wait to play Combat Evolved Anniversary, more than anything you just want to get your hands on Halo 4, and can't wait to play the entire Reclaimer trilogy. Life is good, but before you know it, it's 2020, you're a college graduate, you've got a family, you've got 2 kids of your own and a wife by your side. And while you're scrolling through on your phone, looking at your Instagram or your Facebook, you see it. Halo Combat Evolved trailer for PC. Halo Combat Evolved is going to be on PC now for the Xbox, and you'll finally be able to play it. You decide to turn on your Xbox One, and you get on there for some nostalgia reasons, download a massive update from MCC, and you hop in and play a few games of Halo Combat Evolved, and you get your butt handed to you. Long gone are the days that you could dominate any arena court. Life kind of took its way, and things became more important. But you still always have a smile when you sit down to play a match of Halo, and think about how it was all those years ago whenever you wanted to play, but your brother wouldn't let you, and you were just 8 years old. And the whole time, here's Halo, still right there, still big, and still relevant. You think about what it's going to be like the next 10 years. Halo Infinite's about to come out. They say they have Halo stories planned for the next 20 years, and you fully plan on being there. But then you realize something. There's a little hand pulling at your side. You look down and it's your little boy saying, "Daddy, what's this?" You look up and realize that another generation is now coming up, and they want to know what Halo is. So you teach him the skill jumps, you teach him the story, you show him the hidden rooms, you show him how to get out of the Forge maps. You do all these things that you done as a kid and as teenagers, and you watch his eyes light up, how shocked he is and how happy when he pulls off his first 3-shot with a Halo 1 Magnum, or 4-shot with a Halo 2 BR. And the cycle begins again, and another generation takes the place that we once held. Halo fans, regardless of age, are a wonderful community that are brought together by a beautiful game. Though I may criticize some of the Halo titles I'll be covering in future videos, for Halo Combat Evolved's legacy, I can say nothing but beautiful things. For the simple reason that it is the beginning of Halo. It symbolizes the beginning of an innocent time and a wonderful adventure that we have all enjoyed together as Halo fans. So the legacy of Combat Evolved is the connections and the people and the stories that we have made with each other. That's the true legacy of Combat Evolved. Sure, it revolutionized gaming. It built a wonderful story. Some people would call it the best campaign ever. But there's still nothing like those old days long gone of the LAN parties and the split-screen co-ops. Halo Combat Evolved is a beautiful game, and that is its legacy, because it is the beginning of Halo. Thank you for watching, and I hope you tune in for the next one where we will cover the legacy of Halo 2.